Hey, book fam, it is time for my January wrap up. I had a great reading month in January. I read 6 books. I read my first 5-star book of the year. So let me just jump into the wrap up really quick. So the first one I read was Dominion by Addie Sinchins. And I have a whole video on my YouTube and my bookstagram about this book. I really enjoyed this book because, well, first of all, I listened to it on audio, and listening to it on audio was a treat because it was multi narrated. So it was several narrators. It was music in the background. It was just really, really entertaining. And the book was just as entertaining. And I don't want to get into too deep, but again, that was my first 5-star book of the year. And it was about Wonder Boy and Dominion, Mississippi. So check that video out if you want to know a little bit more detail about that book. So the next book that I read was The Princess and the PI by Nikki Payne. And I got this book from the library. So I have since had to take that book back to the library. So I don't have a physical copy. So I am showing a digital copy here, but the Princess and the PI was a really good book. It was romantic suspense, and it was written with the female main character needing to solve some things surrounding her family, and the PI was trying to help her. And of course, they fall in love or start to develop feelings for each other during the course of this story. So there's mystery, there's suspense, and there's romance as well. This was a really good book, and I had a great time with it. The next book that I read in January was One Summer in Savannah by Tara Shelton Harris. And this book was also a fabulous book. This book followed the main female character who had some traumatic events happen to her while she was a teenager in high school. And as a result, she left the town that she grew up in, so basically fled. And also as a result of the crime, she had a baby. So the book is about when she returns to the town when her child is 8 years old. She returns because her father is ill. And so she wants to go back and spend some time. Well, she doesn't really want to go back, but she goes back out of obligation to spend some time with her father during his illness. The other point of view in this book is the twin brother of the person that committed the crime against her. So that's what makes this book so very interesting, that we hear his point of view and what was happening in his family's mind at the time of the crime and as a result of the crime, and the fact that he bumps into her not knowing that she would be there. And so this story follows them as they start to develop feelings for each other, which is also different. And them dealing with the ultimate theme of this book, which is forgiveness. This was a very, very good book, and I will encourage you guys to read that. The next book that I read was The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. And this book was like number 2 on the Amazon list or something like that. It was a very popular book, very popular book on some of the platforms in 2025. So I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to listen to it too. And this book I did listen to on audio. What I appreciated about the audio for this book was that the voices of the letters remain the same as they were read throughout the book. So just in general, the book the entire book is written in letters. And the main character of the book, she writes these letters. She's the correspondent. She writes these letters to different people in her life, like her best friend, her brother. She writes a letter to the department chair at the University of Maryland. So she likes to correspond via the old-fashioned way or the snail mail way. She also does email too. But the book is very interesting as it follows a series of events through her life over the course of a few years. And this book is about grief. It's about disappointment and how you respond to that and how you deal with that. So it was a very good book. I did enjoy this book. The next book that I read was The Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson. And this was a 5-star historical fiction book. I have a whole video on this book because this book said so many things and touched so many places, and it was a tough read, but a very necessary one. And the book was written so well, and it's such a great story. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And the last book that I read for my January list was My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. And I also listened to this book as well. This book was the twistiest of the twisty. As you guys may know, the His and Her series on Netflix has been really, really popular. Well, Alice Feeney is the author of the book that show was based off of. And My Husband's Wife is her latest release. And I just have to say, with this book and these characters, I couldn't tell who did what because I felt like everybody was a liar and everybody had a secret. And so it was really hard to tell, but it was a great story. She's always very descriptive. I read her other book, Rock, Paper, Scissors. She's always very descriptive with her sceneries and things like that. So I appreciate that about her as an author. But this one was very, very twisty. So I really, really enjoyed that. So that is the wrap up for my January books. And again, it was a banger month. I had a great month and had fun with all of these different stories. So I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to, please do make sure you follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more fun and bookish content.